Welcome to Morning Joe with Tom, with your host, Thomas Chappell. Get ready to listen to real-life stories from inspiring leaders who have overcome incredible challenges to rise to the occasion. If you're ready to add some pep to your morning with a new outlook on leadership, then grab your cup of coffee. It's time to be inspired. Here's your host, Thomas Chappell.
Hey, Tinu, I really appreciate you being here today. We've we've kind of been passing ships as of recently, but
Yeah.
listeners, you really want to capture this and listen closely because she has a lot of value to share today. She hailed out of Maryland. Now she lives down in Texas, my favorite home. That's where I was born and raised. So definitely jealous. I gotta admit, definitely jealous. But we met through Sean Mize and kind of got along. And you were part of a speakers club that Sean was running, and I got the privilege of getting you booked on the show. So without real further ado, I would love for you to share with the folks really what makes your solutions work the way that they work for.
Okay. Well, Tinu Abayomi-Paul, as already has been said, my website now is everywhere accessible. It's a foundation based on the fact that a large population of the United States has some kind of medical issue or disability, but most of us don't talk about it. I started talking about it back when I was in marketing and internet marketing, which is how I know Sean. And I found that most people I knew who had very small businesses, under 5 people, they didn't start their business because, oh, that was my dream. Some of them got to their dream later through the business, but most people started it because they just didn't have any other choice. There was no way for them to bring in a consistent income in without going out for themselves due to some health problem that they were having. So after I left internet marketing due to having cancer, I started participating in the online digital disabilities community. And I found that there's a lot of people in the disability community who don't know that they can start small businesses to supplement their income online or how to do it. And then there's a lot of internet marketers who don't know, well, what am I going to do next? I have this one disability now. I have this one, health problem now. My back is out from time to time. I know what to do now because, except for that one thing, I'm relatively healthy. I have things planned out. I set my own schedule. But what is going to happen in the future? Like, what if my spouse gets sick? What if it's time for me to retire? What happens as I get older or develop more disabilities and then I can't really run my business the same way that it used to? So I'm trying to bridge that gap, especially with, we don't really know anymore what's going on with COVID. We only know that there's still like 1,000 to 2,000 deaths a week, but the population of people that are getting COVID, like 1 in 10 of those people is getting long COVID. So just think if everybody is out there just, not necessarily realizing that they need more protection from the air that we're breathing, imagine what it's going to be like in 5 years, 10 years, the next generation, as far as the way that COVID can disable you, even if you've only had it once. And then also the prevalence of cancer is going up. They're not sure if that's connected to that first surge of COVID that we had or not. So people are starting to get sicker faster and not be able to work your standard 9-to-5 job. Or they have a business, but they don't know how to make what they're presently doing into an autopilot or mostly passive income situation for in case they're sick for long periods of time. So I try to attack the problem from both sides using the example of the things that I've been through in my life.
Okay. All right. So walk us through this process. Is it just informational, or how do you walk people that are going through this disability challenge into obtaining their own business? Give us what that looks like.
especially if you have a chronic illness and it's not so far ahead that you would consider yourself a disabled person, which, it's not bad to be thought of as disabled, but it is weird how people treat you when they hear the word disability or they hear the word disabled, because it has kind of a negative connotation to it. Like, instead of, it just sounds like there's something broke about you. It's really just a descriptor of your health, but it's evolved in its, colloquial meaning. So first of all, I try to get people to recognize that it's okay for you to have a chronic illness, or for you to have, something that's not as healthy or as able-bodied as your neighbor, and it's okay for you to talk about it, and it's okay and necessary, actually, for you to build that into your business. I would tell people mostly that it's both informational and it's psychological too, because we often, self-talk ourselves into thinking that we can't do or won't be able to accomplish the dreams that we had, because we're not being accommodated by, whether it's, the big contractor when you're the subcontractor, or if you work a 9 to 5 in addition to your business, the person that's your boss, or the clients that you have, or even the employees that you brought on. So when everybody is not having their needs accommodated, it sometimes, constructs a psychological barrier that you have to kind of get through just to feel okay to talk about it. Because if you don't feel okay having a chronic illness, sometimes we just kind of push that thought to the back. And before you know it, it's been 15 years and you still don't know how to give yourself a day off. So the first thing is, like, get your head right. And then secondly, it's planning. It's really 3 things. First, you have to look at your business and say, what is it that I need to do for my business that has to happen that somebody else can happen? For example, accounting. I don't have to do my own accounting. I can hire an accountant for that. A friend of mine found me a great accountant that's like $45 a month. And this lady's like really good. She figured out how to make, my income show up the way that it needs to, in order for me to, if I want to buy a house or if I want to get a condo, so that I'm not worried that the way that my income looks is not, the way that somebody would rent a house to me. It's not like I can submit, it's not like I can show them paycheck stuff. I can only show them my bank account, but maybe this overstates because things are coming in and out of it. So she handles all of that. And I need to know like the details of all of that necessarily. But it is good to get like a monthly report from her, and also have her, keeping track of whether my profit and revenues are growing, etc. There's also tools that you can use. There's so much out there, artificial intelligence. There's things that will automate part of your work for you. There are things that will help you get your work done faster. For example, I often have problems with fatigue. So the way I used to be able to just spit out like a 2,000 word article and have it all set up and ready, when people come to me and say, we'd like your comment on this, we want to pay you $500. I used to be able to do that in 2 hours. And so I consider like my baseline to be $250 per hour when I'm doing that job. But now that job takes me 10 hours because of the fatigue. So how can I use a tool to squish that time back down? And I use a tool called Otter. It's otter.ai. There's a free version. And what it does is, it takes time to get used to, but you can say your thoughts out loud as if you're writing the document that you want to write. Mm-hmm. And it transcribes everything while you're writing. It's not perfect, but it gets you 80% of the job done, and it will spit out a Word document or a text document, whatever you need, as well as the audio, to try to condense the amount of work that you have to do for editing. So I'm not down to 2 hours with that anymore, but I am back down to 3 from where I was at 10. So a lot of times, look for tools that can squish your learning or your production back down to a manageable level. Then the third thing, resources. There's so much out there. The Small Business Administration has some great SCORE mentors. They're called SCORE mentors, who may have been through what you're going through, who you can talk to. There's also some money that's set aside for disabled entrepreneurs. So if you have a letter from your doctor saying, okay, well, I have these 2 chronic illnesses and it affects my ability and pace of work, there are grants out there and different, kinds of help that will get you to your finish line faster. I had another, transcript.lol. If you're a podcaster and you need to write the summary that goes in the podcast, or you want to try different titles and things like that, there's a tool called transcript.lol that you can just give them your audio. They not only transcribe it, but then they also give you the summary tips, and it just depends on what you decide to pick. And they have kind of a token-based system so that you can choose what thing you want to pay for instead of buying stuff that you're not going to use. And that helps me a lot while I'm trying to plan a podcast, because I'm trying to be like 4 episodes ahead at all times. And I can just almost cut and paste that summary. And then that helps with SEO too, because I don't have to worry about, I didn't get this transcribed, it's not going to help me. All of those things are not a worry anymore, because I went and found some of the resources. And I talk about some of them on my site, Everywhere Accessible. One thing that you can do, if you have no idea where to start, I have a checklist on there, and you just go to Everywhere Accessible and click on the what if checklist, and it'll take you the rest of the way.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay. Cool. So you're talking about a lot of productivity tools and management tools to kind of help you manage your workload.
Yeah.
What else exists out there for folks that might need that extra help? I mean, I know that there's like VAs and stuff around there, but sometimes that's not everybody can afford that, right? So
exactly.
So what else have you found?
Well, what I used to do, not presently, but what I used to do when I had a gap between being able to afford a VA or an ongoing virtual assistant, because sometimes to get someone skilled, it's $1 or $2 grand a month, and you don't always have that extra. There are smaller companies that will do like a couple of tasks for you. Think of it like if you ever go to fancyhands.com and get like personal household things, they exist for for business use as well. I'm trying to think of the name of the one that I use most frequently. I have brain fog from my long COVID, so sometimes I can't pull things to mind, but I put it in that I'll put it on that on the notes I do about the blog post about this episode, and send you the information. But if you Google task, what is it called? It's something task. It's outsourced tasks. You'll be able to get a list of those companies. Just make sure that you check, will they do this for small businesses or individuals? And will they do things that are outside the scope of like personal things? Some of them are just set up to take time off of, the average family adult's hand to, so that parents can spend more time with their kids and be able to say, okay, find us a flight for 5 people because we want to go to vacation in Florida. Others have, okay, we have trained people who speak English, who may or may not be from America. Some of them are based in the Philippines. That's a good one. I used to use bestjobs.ph. I can't remember if they changed their domain name or not, but that's a good place to look for people who speak English and are well skilled, but cost less than if you were going to hire Americans. And then there's also one that mixes in international people that all speak English. So just make sure you read the services carefully before you sign up, because with those monthly services, they will not want to give you your money back, for the month that they believe that you are already using.
Well, this has really been joyful, and I've really enjoyed our time together.
Me too.
I would love to give you the last word on maybe share something with the listeners that you may feel is heartfelt and all, because you've given us a lot of value already.
Yeah. this project that I'm working on now is a passion project for me. And I came to be able to do it after years of wanting to write and wanting to serve people, because that's just my whole being. It's just about service and helping people, especially since, and this is a little bit personal, I found out that I had a certain type of cancer in my 20s. I was supposed to only live until I was 40 years old if I went by what they understood about that cancer at that time. And now here I am, 52, still running my own business. And I call the years after that, those 12 years, my bonus years. And the reason I bring that up is because I had the benefit of knowing and being able to plan for how I knew my life was going to go. I also had the benefit, to me, of that compressed time schedule. I knew, okay, you're going to have to do your life by 40. So, don't lollygag, do everything right now, do everything that you can in the moment. But my main message is take it from somebody who knows you don't always know what is going to pop up tomorrow or the next day. We did not see COVID coming. And when I got it in February of 2022, it was almost at the end of all the protections and stuff. So I was really financially unprepared for that whole time period. To get through cancer the first time, I sold my 2 businesses, and that was easy because I was already wealthy. I already had cash flow. And then all of a sudden, get cancer again with COVID. And it's like, okay, now I'm bankrupt again. How do I claim back? And if you find yourself in that situation, I have a whole kit that teaches you how to crowdfund your way out of that first stumbling block and get you back to being able, maybe not to do the exact version of what you used to do, but to find a version that works for you and gives you some kind of passive income and builds in days off into your schedule.
Wow.
So that's how I'd like to help people do.
That's really valuable. So, because time is the only thing that once spent, you can't remake it. We can always
exactly
make more money, but you can't make more time. So,
right.
So I really appreciate your time with us, and I know that your schedule's quite hectic. So, listeners, get on her calendar now. You won't regret it. And again, thank you very much. And you have a
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And continue to be blessed and highly favored.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Morning Joe with Tom. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. See you next time for more real-life stories and inspiration on Morning Joe with Tom.